Hey everyone, welcome to Rob's Car World. Today's feature car is a 1973 Ford Mustang Mach 1 that I found on Craigslist in Hudson Valley, New York. So we're going to take you through this car real quick. This car is a 1971 Ford Mustang Mach 1. It's in Pine Bush. It's actually up in Hudson Valley. It's in Sullivan County, not too far away from where I live. The person's asking $22,995. On first blush, that seems to be a lot of money, but the popularity of the last year of the first edition Mustang platform that stretched out quite a bit is somewhat in demand lately. I've seen prices of these cars go up a bit. So I'm not a personal big fan of the car, but I have a lot of respect for it because it's a real timeless, really time stamps the 70s, you know. But this car here is, he says the seller states the car has 32,484 original miles. When something is this old, you really need some documentation to verify those miles. If somebody was the original owner and he's got a book and he kept a diary on the car, but when somebody picks this car up and it's had 7 or 8 owners throughout its life, it's pretty hard to conclude that these are the original miles, even if things like the brake pads and things like that show no wear, because you can always change brake pads and such. But if the undercarriage is extremely clean and there's no rust on the frame rails and things like that, and the interior may be worn, but the seats are original, the glass is still stamped with the Ford, stampings for glass and such. It is possible that the car could have this low miles and has been kept nice. It doesn't look to be in pristine condition. It looks like it needs a restoration. It might be a very good driver as is, but the price is interesting, and we'll talk about that in a little while. Let's get into the car itself, but the no real big description. Runs great in original interior and in great shape. No rust underneath. Only 32,000. 4-speed transmission. 351 original Cleveland motor, V8 motor. And he shows the clock. So let's get into the photographs. But just so you know, the 73 model year was the last year before the next generation, second generation came up. And we all know that 74 changed the whole body style of this car. The car got smaller. It was a Mustang 2. It was a failed execution when it was new. However, I'm even seeing some Mustang 2 Gia platforms and actually being in demand lately. So it's kind of strange, but a lot of that is a little blurred from COVID. You know what I mean? But 73 really basically the car started really taking some shape, and it was a head turner. It was bigger. The car grew in a lot of inches. I mean, the car actually took off as far as the size of the car goes. I think like 3 inches more in width, and it's got to be at least 12 inches in length, especially in the radiator shroud. Because what they did was they added bigger fenders on the car, and they just basically, you can stand in between the radiator shroud and the engine. There's so much room there. But it was the design back then. Again, this is the car. So the new look started making changes in 72, and then 73 was an extended body style, and that was the last year of this edition. There was a lot of engine choices at the time. They had the inline 4-cylinder V6 engine, L6 engine. I'm sorry. They had the small block V8, which I think was the 302. The 351 Cleveland V8 was available as an upgrade, and then of course the 429 Cobra Jet and Super Cobra Jets made. Those are the ones that you find in Barrett Jackson and all for probably about 60, 70,000, $80,000 today. So, but this car here is looking at the photos. We'll start with the first photo. We'll blow it up a little bit so you guys can see it. Car looks like it has its original striping, so it might be the original paint. But the urethane rubber bumper was extended for 73 for bumper standards in the front. If you remember 73, most cars had to adopt a new front bumper standard. The rear bumper standard in 73 was just a pass along, and I think they added like bumperettes in the back just to make them a little stronger. But so this might be the original color, might be the original graphics. It's got the ram air intake hood. I don't know if this is a functional ram air from the factory, but it does have the the tie down clamps here. The slotted wheels, I believe those slotted wheels were available from the factory, but I'm not 100% sure. But looking at the overall car, it looked like the rear quarter panel may have had some work and spray paint here. Something doesn't look right with the door and the sill area here. But he's stating the car has no rust, so it could be damage. There's the back of the car. There's old bumperettes that I talked about that helped the car pass the 73 bumper standards back then. It's got the original graphics in the back as well. It's got the tail spoiler, which looks to be original too. Um, Remembering that this car is over 50 years old, $22,500 isn't that much money for something that has some collectability to it. So it's one of those things where you have to proceed with caution to go through this car. What no real big options on the car. You know, he's roll up windows, but it has a manual transmission and has the console, of course, and that's very attractive. So the 351 Cleveland with a manual transmission as a Mach 1, you know, this car has some pedigree to it, but it looks like it really needs a restoration. The car looks fairly dry, rotted on the rubber strippings and things like that. The headline looks original, but it does look stained. So this car is a nice driver. So $22,000 for a driver is a lot of money, but we have to also balance this with the fact that the car is over 50 years old. So I like this car. I'm intrigued by it. You know, dashboard, it's got warping here. It's got the original flasher here for the seatbelt mechanism. They had to buckle the seatbelts in order to start the cars back then. I think 73, 74 was the 2 years. Has the FM radio adapter that was very popular at JC Whitney and such. The FM, so you can get FM tunes. It's got an 8-track player, AM 8-track player. That's some fun. There's your dashboard. There's your clock that shows the miles. But again, it's easy to think that this car could have 132,000 miles. So you need to get into it. But going through the car, you can kind of gauge that this car is either a 32,000 mile car or a 100 something thousand mile car. You can tell. And some areas that I look at is under the dashboard. I look for rust under the dashboard, under the seating area. Look at the seat rails for excessive wear on the seat rails. That's when you can start seeing, and of course, the engine bay and the engine and such, doing a compression test on the engine and all. But I would think that at this age, this car is going to need some, a lot of restoration over the years. So is it worth putting money into this car, or is it just worth having it as a driver? I'm not sure. It shows it had air conditioning, but let's look at the engine bay photo. I didn't see any. Let's see if I can, this photo of the engine bay. Oh, there, the air conditioning is there. So the air conditioning is there. That's pretty cool. So that originality is there. The struts look to be original. It looks like the car was definitely repainted here. That's not that original the way that looks there. So the car looks fairly tired. So, you know, it may have sat for a very long time. So that's another problem with a car like this. So the gas tank and things like that. So you're looking at a restoration project, or maybe just drive as is. So 22,995 is a lot of money. I'd probably be in the market for this car for around 16, $15,000. So there's a big gap between what he's asking for and what I think it might be worth. But then again, in November and December, not many people going out there looking at cars. Looks like a current photo. Maybe this was back in September or such. But it doesn't, it might be a current photo in the fall. But there's a lot to this car to make it special. But not $22,995 in special. So I would be in that price range of $15,000, $16,000 maybe, with the understanding that I'd put it in my garage, and then as I got money, I would start restoring it and try to make it a little nicer and just work on it myself to make it look nice. But it's a fun car to get your arms around and to pass on to other generations as we all age and get older. And that's it. This is a 73 Ford Mustang Mach 1. It's in Hudson Valley, New York, not that far away from me. It's where I live. Anybody want me to go look at it? I'll be happy to go look at it for a cup of coffee. But that's it. So thank you for joining me today on Rob's Car World. Please subscribe if you haven't already to this channel. I appreciate that. We're going to try to do some live feed and live Q&A on cars that we find. There is a rolling banner at the bottom if you're interested in finding this car, where to search. YouTube does not allow me to put a link in a slide or in the actual video. They bounce my video for that. So you have to just follow, go to Craigslist and find this car in Hudson Valley. It won't be that hard to find. Thanks very much for joining me, and we'll see you here again. Thanks.